Hey everybody, this is Mr. Ryan, and this is the final lesson in the summer session for the ninth grade math course, okay? And in this lesson, we're going to continue with something we did in lesson 6.3, where we're dealing with scatter plots and bivariate data. What we're going to do here is we're going to do exactly what we did in lesson 6.3, and then we're going to draw a sort of, not the actual regression line through the mean point, but something that could be like the regression line, okay? All right, so here is our scatter plot over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to sketch a regression line. It's not actually going to be the regression line. The regression line is actually a lot more complicated. There's a lot of math that has to go into sketching a regression line. Typically, we never do it by hand. We almost always do it in a computer, actually. Calculators can do it too, graphing calculators, but typically we do it in a computer using some kind of statistical software. But we can get the idea of what a regression line is in this lesson, just sort of an introductory idea. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do two things. We're going to do what we did in lesson 6.3. So the first thing we're going to do for each one of these is we're going to identify and plot the mean point of the regression line. Now that mean point really, that's legit. That really is a part of the regression line. That's not maybe kind of. No, that really is on the regression line. And then the second thing we're going to do is we're either going to draw a line with either a positive slope or a negative slope. That's it. With either a positive slope, oops, that's supposed to be an A, positive slope or negative slope, okay? You're going to want to use a ruler for this because you want it to be a straight line. And so basically, here's what we're going to do. So if this is the coordinate plane, we're going to plot a point, wherever the mean point is, and then we're basically going to draw either a positive line straight through it, or we're going to draw a negative line straight through it, and that's all we're going to do in this lesson, okay? It's pretty simple. And the idea here is we're getting an understanding of how to create a regression line with bivariate data. And I'll briefly talk about what a regression line is. Basically, it's a prediction line. It's a line that predicts the y value given an x value. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a few minutes, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to erase all this, and then we're gonna just do about 4 examples, and we should be done, and then you should be able to do your work, and you should be in pretty good shape, okay? All right, so here what we need, we don't have the table, but we don't really need the table. To find x bar, we need to add up, we need to find the average of all the x coordinates. And what we have here is, this is 3, 2, and 3, 3, but we have basically 2 3s, and then a 4. So we can just do 3 plus 3 plus 4, okay? And then this point right here is a 6, and this point right here is a 9. So we'll do plus 6 plus 9 divided by 5, because there's 5 points, okay? And then the y bar, we're going to do something very similar, only we're going to do along the y-axis. We've got a 2, and we've got a 3, and we've got a 6. So we've got a 2 and a 3 and a 6, okay? Then we've got a 9 and then a 10. And then 9 and then 10. Then we're going to divide that whole thing by 5, okay? So we're going to do the same thing with both of them. So here we have 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 6 is 16 plus 9 is 25. So the mean x value is 25 divided by 5, which is 5. Okay. And the mean y value is 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 6 is 11, plus 9 is 20, plus 10 is 30. So we've got 30 divided by 5, and that gives us 6. And therefore, the mean point, the x bar, y bar point is 5, 6. Okay? And if we come over here, here's 5, and we go up here, here's 6. That's our mean point right here. So that's step 1. We did that in lesson 6.3, and now what we're going to do is we're going to decide, are we better off drawing a negative line through here or a positive line through here? Okay? And here's what you're looking for. When you draw this line, you would like it to be passing sort of along all the scatter plot, okay? And what does it look like? Does it look like these scatter points are kind of moving in a positive slope direction, or does it look like they're moving in a negative slope direction? So what we're doing here, let me go ahead and show you what would happen if we did a negative, okay? So let's say that I went, I don't know, maybe right around here, started drawing a line, and then I draw this line straight through the point, okay? All right, so here's what we're looking for. We're really trying to understand how far this line is from all the different points. So you can see here that we've got a short distance here, but then we have a really long distance here, and then a really long distance here. We want these green lines to be as short as possible. Do these green lines look short, or do they look long? They're really long. These points are very far away from this line right here, okay? And so I don't think a negatively sloped line is ideal in this situation. Let's try a positively sloped line instead and see what happens. Let's see what happens with these green lines if we have a positively sloped line, okay? So let's say maybe I'm going to put a line, I don't know, maybe here. There we go. Let's try to draw this maybe through right here, okay? All right, that's a positively sloped line. And now if I go ahead and draw some green lines from each one of these points, look what we have. This is a pretty short line. This is a longer line, but it's still shorter than those other ones we saw. This is a really short line right here. This is a pretty short line. This one's a little longer, but it's still shorter than those ones that we had before. And so I'm thinking a positively sloped line is our best bet here. So we're going to go ahead, and what we're going to say is that there is a positive regression between the set of x values and the set of y values. Okay. All right. Let's do this with another example. All right. Here's another example. We've got a scatter plot here, and we want to identify the mean of the x coordinates and the mean of the y coordinates. So it looks like here's an x coordinate with 1. Here's an x coordinate. This one has an x coordinate of 2, so that's a 1 plus 2. Okay. And then this point has an x coordinate of 8, this one has an x coordinate of 9, and this one has 10. So then plus 8 plus 9 plus 10. Okay. All right, over 5. All right, and then the y coordinates at 1, this one has a y coordinate of 1, this one's 2, and this one's 3. So that's 1 plus 2 plus 3. Plus, and this one 9, and this one 10. Okay. So plus 9 plus 10, okay, divided by 5. And then here, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 8 is 11, plus 9 is 20, plus 10 is 30. So we've got 30 divided by 5, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. Here we have 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 9 is 15, plus 10 is 25. And so that is 25 divided by 5, and that's going to be 5. And so our mean point, our x bar comma y bar, is going to be 6 comma 5. Okay, so we're going to come over here to 6 and then go up to 5 right here. So there's our mean point right there. Plot that. Now we have to decide, are we going to do a positively sloped line or a negatively sloped line? Okay, I'm really thinking a negatively sloped line, right? Because typically what you can do is you can go to where some of the points are on the left and then go toward the mean point, and you can see whether the graph is going upward sloping or downward sloping. This looks like downward sloping. Then you can do the exact same thing from the mean point over to the points on the right-hand side. And if it's the same downward sloping as it was from over here, then it's a sure bet that you're looking for a downward sloping line. Okay? If we did an upward sloping line, all of these points would be very far away from that line. But a downward sloping line, I'm going to try and cut in between these 2 points and see where it goes down here, okay? All right, let's see here. So maybe I'll start somewhere up here, maybe right in between them, and see if I can go through this. Look at that, it actually goes straight through one of the other points. And look at that. It actually goes right through this point, and it's very close. You can see that it's very close to this point right here. That's not a very long distance right there. And if it was up here, if it had extended, it would be here. And this is not, it's got to be a vertical distance. That's not very far. This one's dead on. This one isn't very far this way, and this one's not very far this way. So I think we've got a good line here. Okay, let's try another example. All right, here's a third example. You see we got a scatter plot here, and in order to figure out the line, so you can look at it for a minute and see if you think that it's going to be a negatively sloped line or a positively sloped line. It's not that hard to figure out with only 5 points. Now, don't get me wrong, there are times when this happens where it's very hard. If you got one up here, one down here, and one up here, and one down here, and one right here, it's really hard to tell whether you have a positive or negative slope. I made it very obvious with these examples on purpose, but also, you're probably pretty new to this idea. Let's go ahead and identify the x bar and the y bar. So for the x coordinates, we have this one has an x coordinate of 1. This one has an x coordinate of 2. This one has an x coordinate of 3, so we got a 1 plus 2 plus 3 here. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus. All right, both of these have an x coordinate of 7, so we're going to have a 7 plus 7. All right, so 7 plus 7, and then it's going to be over 5 equals, okay? And then the y coordinates, we got nothing with a 1, nothing with a 2, nothing with a 3. This point right here has a 4. This point has a 5, and this point has a 7. So we're going to be 4 plus 5 plus 7 plus. This point is a 9, and this point is a 10. So we got a 9 and a 10. 9 plus 10, okay, can be over 5. All right, let's see here. So up here, we have 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 7 is 13, plus 7 is 20. So we've got 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Then here we've got 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. 16 plus 9 is 25. And 25 plus 10 is 35. So we've got 35 divided by 5. 35 divided by 5 is 7. And so our mean point, x bar, y bar, is going to be the point 4, 7. Okay, 4, 7. We're going to go over to 4 here, and we're going to go up to 7, which is right here. And we're going to draw a point right here. And now I'm thinking that here's a couple points here. Going toward that mean point is a positive slope. And going from the mean point and to these points over here is also a positive slope. So maybe we're thinking we need a positively sloped line. Okay, and so maybe I'll start maybe right here, and let's draw a line right through there. That looks pretty good. Okay, and then if we were to identify, let's see, I see very little distance here, right, between this point. That's not very much distance. This isn't very much distance. This isn't very much distance. And this isn't very much distance. It's a little tiny distance. That looks like a pretty good curve, a positively sloped curve. Okay. All right, I think we're only going to do one more example, and I think we should have this. Okay, this is our last example here. Once again, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And we want to identify the mean of all the x-coordinates. Okay, this point has an x-coordinate of 2. This one has an x-coordinate of 5. So we're going to have a 2 plus 5. 2 plus 5 plus. Okay, this one has an x-coordinate of 8. Both of these have an x-coordinate of 10, so that's 2 10s. So we got an 8, and then a 10, and then another 10. Okay, 8 plus 10 plus 10. Okay, divided by 5. Okay, good. And then the y-coordinates, we need the same thing. This one has a y-coordinate of 1. This one has a y-coordinate of 2. And this one has a y-coordinate of 3. So we're going to do 1 plus 2 plus 3. Okay. This one right here has a y-coordinate of 6. This one has a y-coordinate of 8. So we're going to do plus 6 plus 8. We do that all over 5. Okay. So up here, for the x-bar, we have 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 8 is 15, plus 10 is 25, plus another 10 is 35. So we've got 35 divided by 5, which is 7. Okay, so the mean the mean of all the x-coordinates is 7. Okay? For the y, we have 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 6 is 12, plus 8 is 20. So we've got 20 divided by 5, which is 4. And so our mean point, x bar, y bar, is going to be 7, 4. Okay? So we're going to come over here to 7 and then go up 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our mean point right there. Okay? That point will be on the regression line. We may not be getting the regression line right, but I promise you that the regression line is passing through this point. Okay? The regression line always passes through the point x bar, y bar. Okay? And so it looks to me like if I went from here to here, I'd have a negative slope. If I went from here to here, I'd have a negative slope. And if I went from here over to here, negative, here to here, negative, and here to here, negative. I'm thinking a negative slope is the way to go. All right, so where I think I'm going to start it is maybe right around here. Start drawing, and then I'm going to cut right through that point right there, and I think that looks pretty good right there. Okay, and now if we identify the distances between these other points in this line we've drawn, you can see this one's very small, not very much at all. Here also very small. Here pretty small. This one's a little longer, but it's still pretty small, and this one's really tiny. And so I think we picked a pretty good line. We've minimized. See, that's really what you're trying to do when you learn this in the future. What we're trying to do is we're trying to minimize the length of these green lines here. We want to make them as small as possible. Okay, it's called a least squares regression line, but we're not going to get into that in this class right now. Okay, okay, that's it. That's the end of the class. I hope you have had a good learning experience here. And hopefully, if you have any questions for me, let me know. But this is pretty much the end of the course. And I will look forward to seeing you in the future, maybe in some other courses.